तस्य ज्ञानचक्षुः चक्षुरुन्मीलितमेन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोमितं स्थापितमेन भूतले स्वयं रूपकथामयं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं गुरो श्रीगुरुकमलं श्रीगुरुर्वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगनारघुनाथं तांसजीव सागरितं साधुकं परिजनसेतं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगनाललिता श्रीविशाखाकांक्ष हे कृष्णकरुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धुरे कोटियशाखोत्तरान्त नारायणकान्तां तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुरेदेवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रियं च कल्पतरुश्च कृपासिन्धुभय च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो विष्णुभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण. Come to this discussion on Bhagavad Gita status. We are now into chapter 4. The chapter 4 is, the title is Transcendental Knowledge. And we are looking into the shloka number 29, which falls in the fourth section, which is achieving jnana through sacrifices. So let's go to the shloka 4.29. Apane jvahati prana, prane apana tatapare, pranapana gatirudva, pranayama parayanaha. अपरे नियताहार प्राणान प्राणेषु जुह्वति. So here the translation is, still others who are inclined to the process of breath restraint to remain in trance practice by offering movement of outgoing breath into incoming and incoming breath into outgoing, and thus at last remain in trance, stopping all breathing. Others curtailing the eating process offer the outgoing breath into itself as sacrifice. This shloka is a bit technical. We will try to understand it by breaking it down into the lines here. Apane jvahati prana. Apane means downward. Here we are referring to air which is moving down. And then prane apana tatapara. Prane is outward going air. So what we are doing is, the downward going air is offered to the outward going, and outward going air is offered to downward going. So we are now trying to bring a cycle at the apare, then pranapana gati rudva, prana of air going outward and air going downward, gati, movement check. So we are trying to control the breathing. In our previous classes, we saw that between the mind and our physical body, there is a connection with air. If we are stressed, if we take a deep breath, the heartbeat comes down and stress comes down. So now we are trying to control the breathing. By doing this, the physiology of the body is controlled, or the functions of the body are controlled. Pranayama parayana. Pranayama means trance induced by stopping all breathing, so inclined. Then that is, we are now getting into control all the movements in the body and getting into trance. By practicing this, we are able to go into trance. Then apare niyata ahara prana praneshu jagati. That apare, others niyata, having control, ahara, eating, prana, the outgoing air, praneshu, in the ingoing outgoing air, jagati, sacrifice. So what they are doing is curtailing the eating process of outgoing air itself into sacrifice. That means, so one is breathing, and the other one is to do with the digestion system. One is to do with the respiratory system, other is to do with the digestion system. So in both the systems, we have air flow. So in case of respiratory system, the primary fluid which is moving is air. Therefore, we control the upward going and inward, downward going air. So this is first. Second one is, in case of digestive system, the fluid is the food that we eat, the water we drink. So that is controlled to ensure that our physiology is controlled. So these are two different ways in which we can control our bodily functions. What is all this For this is for controlling these senses. First one of offering upward into outward and outward into downward bring equilibrium, which helps in increasing the duration of life. So to attain perfection in life, it's very, very difficult. Therefore, by controlling the breathing, it is possible to prolong the life. And hence, we try to perfect our life by elongating. In this duration, we try to bring perfection in life. The others who control the food are also controlling the senses and they try to get out of the material entanglement. So these are all technicalities. The theme which Srila Prabhupada brings in all the purport is the theme of Krishna consciousness. Though there are various processes and rituals recommended which are part of Vedic system for spiritual realization, for Kali Yuga, this may not be applicable. So Srila Prabhupada brings out this Krishna consciousness in every purport. This Krishna consciousness is also explained by Krishna in subsequent chapters of Bhagavad Gita. When you look at all the statements which Krishna gives throughout the Bhagavad Gita, the rationale behind the statement which Krishna gives as a Bhagavad Gita, you will be able to connect. So, what is given at the end of Bhagavad Gita in 18.6 is chapter 18, sloka number 66, it states, Sarva Dharman Parityaja, Mamekam Sharanam Praja, Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo, Mokshasyami Masuchaha. So, abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. So this religion that we are talking about is different forms of sacrifice. So we should abandon all of them and we should just surrender to Krishna. Why is Krishna saying give up all varieties of religion? These are all the varieties of religion present in Vedic culture. This statement, Srila Prabhupada gives throughout the Bhagavad Gita that we need to become Krishna conscious means we need to become surrendered to Krishna. So that is the message Srila Prabhupada gives throughout Bhagavad Gita. So if a person opens Bhagavad Gita written by Srila Prabhupada, Bhagavad Gita as it is, so you will just by reading one purport, you will know, okay, I have to surrender to Krishna. You need not have to read the entire Bhagavad Gita. This conclusion of surrender to Krishna, Srila Prabhupada is giving throughout. This makes the point very clear that we do not have to we will not misunderstand Bhagavad Gita and lose out of the real message. So this is the purpose of Prabhupada is writing. Reducing the eating process is very helpful in the matter of sense control. And without sense control, there is no possibility of getting out of material entanglement. The idea is that we should not starve ourselves. We should not end up eating so less that we do not have energy to serve Krishna. We should not be so weak that, just a moment. Okay. So we should, I just checked my headphones. So we should not make eating our primary activity or primary fantasy. Primary activity means constantly munching something or the other. Primary fantasy means to think what is the next prasad and what is the next prasad, what is the next prasad, and so on. Eating for us is one activity in the day, and we eat it in nominal quantities, not giant quantities. Krishna will talk about the food habits in 18th chapter. 18th chapter he is telling 18.51 to 53. Actually, 18.52. Vivikta sehi lagu asi yat vaka kaya manasaha. Vivikta means living in a secluded place. Lagu ashi. Ashnati ashi. So, as Krishna says, Ashnati Prayatatmana Pakta Pushpam Palantoya Vyome Bhakta Parachati Tadaham Bhakti Uparito Ashnami. So it is taken from the word eating in small. Lagu means small. Ashi means eating in small quantity. Yata adding control what each kaya, body, manasa need. So being purified by intelligence and controlling the mind with determination One who lives in secluded place, who eats little. So eating is helping us and controlling the eating helps us in purification. So this is very important. Then in shloka number 6.17, Yukta Ahara Viharasya, Yukta Kesasya Karmashu, Yukta Swapna Avbodhasya, Yogo Bhavati Dukkaha. He who is regulated in habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all pains by practicing the yoga. So, as a devotee, we should take prasadam only at regulated times. If we ensure that we regulate the quantity and quality correctly, we will be able to advance in spiritual life by controlling our senses. Sense control is foundation for liberation and advancement in spiritual life. That is what Prabhupada is putting here. Okay, let us go to the next shloka. 4.30 सर्वे अपि एते यज्ञविदो यज्ञशपितकल्मषः यज्ञशिष्टामृतभुजो यान्ति ब्रह्म सनातनम्. So all these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions. The having tasted the nectar of results of sacrifice, they advance towards a supreme eternal atmosphere. So what does this mean? In this shloka, Krishna is mainly focusing on purpose and principle underlying yajna. He has till now discussed different yajnas. Now, what is the essence of all yajna? So he is going to now talk it between 4.30 and 4.33. We know in shloka number 3.33, Krishna is saying, Yagni Shistashina Shanto Muchyante Sarva Kilvishay Bunjatetu Agam Papa E Pachanti Atma Karana. What does that mean? So here we see Yagna Shistashina Shanto. Similar word is used here, Yagna Shapita. Yagna Shapita. So that means what? The devotees of Lord. So if you see 3.13, Yagna Shistashina Shanto means devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is first offered for sacrifice. Others who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment, they really eat only sin. So that means here also we see that Yagna Shapita. Yagna Shapita means which are cleansed as the result of such performance. That is, there is a there is a discipline of following yajna. So this following of yajna helps us in cleansing. Same way here in 3.13 also, yajna shishtanashina, a food taken after performance of yajna. So everywhere the focus is yajna. So the other word used used here in this shloka is Amrita Bhujo, Yajna Amrita Bhujo. Amrita Bhujo. Amrita Bhujo means those who have tasted such nectar. So Yanti Brahma Sanatana. Yanti Brahma Sanatana means they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere. So those who follow the discipline of Yajna and those who have tasted the nectar, they are entering into the supreme eternal atmosphere. So Krishna is telling here what will happen if we practice yajna. First result is that we are cleansed of all sinful reaction. Second, they can taste the nectar of result of sacrifice. And third, they will advance towards the supreme abode. So Brahma Sanatana means eternal spiritual Brahma. Essential point is that we get purified and then get liberated. Not all yajna will lead to purification and liberation at the same, at the same speed and same level. This is because there are different levels of commitment required in different types of yajna. Krishna, however, gives a unifying vision of everything. We see how householders' performance of yajna, yogis regulating the breath is a yajna, brahmacharis control of their mind is yajna, and someone getting absorbed in shastic study is also yajna. So these are all looking different, The unifying principle and purpose is Shapita Kalmashaha, purification, Yanti Brahma Sanatana, that is going back to the eternal atmosphere. And yeah, these two are the and we get chance to taste the nectar of the sacrifice. So these are all some important points here. So let us go to the next sloka, 4.31. Nayam lokosti ayagnasya kutonit kuru sattama. O best of Guru, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? So ayagnasya means one who performs no sacrifice. Yajnas. Is a negative word. Yagnasya. No yagna. One who does not do yagna. One who lives without sacrificing. Use word Kuru Sattama is significant because it is telling, Krishna is telling to Arjuna that you are not a person who will not do yagna. So Arjuna is the best among Kurus, hence he will definitely do yagna. Further, it is the one more point which we see here is without yagna, we cannot be happy in this world. We now understand that yagna means sacrifice. If we do not do sacrifice, we cannot be happy in this world or in future worlds wherever we travel due to our karma or due to our pious deeds. So there are people, we see in this material, but there are people who go to picnic, parties, brothels, movies, beaches, sports, adventures, and so on. They go with the motive to enjoy. These are activities which are done only with the sole purpose of sense enjoyment. These are pleasure driven or pleasure centered activities. Okay, so these are self centered activities in which the focus is me only, me first. So we are I specialist, I first, I only. These are scintillating activities, but we will not, they will not give you any satisfaction. Okay, so if you see, when we sacrifice something for the purpose higher than ourselves in this material world, we get deep satisfaction. For example, we have many people who give up their life for country. At a level, this sacrifice is a reflection of deep illusion that I am this body and this country related with my body is my country. This is illusion. However, considering within the realm of material world, this sacrifice to country is much higher than living a life of sense gratification or selfish motive of seeking one's own pleasure. So that way, for society, country, for higher goals, these are so that the way the sacrifice for society, country, for higher goals is purified from gross sensory desire. So they are purified form of goals. Though they are not absolute good, but they are much better than only gross sensory desires. So this activities bring some sort of fulfillment. If we live just for sense pleasure and selfish motive, the fulfillment dries out in this life. This going to movies, parties, sex, sports, adventure, or all nothing but it shows that our heart is empty. Uh, the heart is filled with fears. Their minds are fierce with desires. They are in verge of tears, but they say cheers. So the heart is filled with fears because there is a constant question what others are thinking about. Their minds are filled with desires which are driven by envy of others. However, the situation is very difficult in the material world to earn money. Hence, the fears and the unfulfilled desires only give tears in our life. But what they do, what these people do, they make a show that they are happy, and this is 100% external, and they say cheers. Their level of sense enjoyment is at a very low level and they try to get this by hook or crook, and then they say cheers. So materialistic people show smiling face. This they do to ensure that nobody feels that I am good for nothing. This makes them cry out of emptiness, lovelessness, purposelessness in heart. They talk a lot about all this, but internally they lack all this. They talk about emptiness in their life, like they ask people to work hard so that their life will be full. But in fact, this is just hollow. They are internally they are empty. They talk about love and passion and so on, but they will have extramarital affairs, or they will have sex with their colleagues, and hence they're this full of lovelessness. And their purpose is just to earn money, which is not a right goal in life. So hence the life is full of purposelessness. So internally they lack whatever they preach. They do not practice sacrifice in their life. When we sacrifice in life, then life has fulfillment, love, and purpose. So the highest level of sacrifice, so sacrifice for a country, society, family, it's all good, but that is not the highest level of sacrifice. The highest level of sacrifice is sacrifice for Krishna. So Krishna is pointing out that even in this world, we cannot have satisfaction without sacrifice. The more one sacrifices, and the higher is the purpose of the sacrifice, greater is the fulfillment, love, and happiness one experience in the life. Sacrifice is giving up very little for the great. And when you say great, great is Krishna. Great is the unalloyed relationship and ever increasing fulfillment with Krishna. We give up flickering pressure of this world. And Krishna is also, so we want to ensure that we come out of the material sense enjoyment and focus only on Krishna. So Krishna is pointing out that we need to, if we have to live good in this life, we need to practice satisfaction. So I'm just sharing my screen. So Krishna is telling, without sacrifice, one can never live happily on this planet or in this life. What then of the next? So this is what is true here. Now let's go to sloka number 32. एवं बहुविध यज्ञ विततो ब्राह्मणो मुखे कर्मजान इति तान सर्वान एवं ज्ञात्वा विमोक्ष्यसे. So what does it mean? All these different yajnas, different types of sacrifice are approved by Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. So this verse specifically talks about origin of yajna and where the yajna will take us. So evam bahuvida yajna. Evam bahuvida yajna means, this means the different forms of yajna. Vitato brahmanamke. Where does this come from? This comes from Vitato brahmanamke. They are coming from Vedas. Brahmanaha means Vedas. Karmaja, born from Vedas. They are originating from Vedas. Karmajan viditan sarvan. So what does that mean? Karmajan viditan sarvan. Karmaja means born of a vidhi. You should know. Tan, then sarvan, all of them. Thus. So originally, ultimately, all yajnas are some kinds of work. They are some kinds of action or activity. They are born of karma or work. Evam nyatva vimokshase. When we know the underlying principle of yajna, when we understand the underlying principle of yajna, then we get liberated. So the forms of sacrifice are different. They come from Vedas, and they are all some kind of work. By understanding this principle, we get liberated. Why we get liberated? As said in BG 4.30, let's see if this one. Sarve api eka yajna vido yajna shafita kalpasha yajna srishtamrita bhujo yajna brahma yanti brahma sanada. Shafita purifies. When we taste, we get the taste of yajna, and then we go back home, back to God. So by doing yajna, all these performers who know the meaning of the yajna, they get cleansed of sinful reaction, and they taste the nectar of the results of sacrifice, and then they enter into the eternal atmosphere. So all this purification happens because we do some activity. Even the person who does just pranayama, he is doing some activity. So this activity also purifies. The person who controls breathing through pranayama is doing some work which controls the mind. Hence it is for the person who speculates, nah, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this. He's also doing some work. He's doing speculation to understand himself. Hence it is purified. This work results in gradual purification. Hence, they are on the path of liberation. When we get liberation, maybe we don't know. Bhaunam Janmanam Ante. Krishna tells that Bhaunam Jan. Thousands of lives somebody has to ask you before he gets liberated. So Krishna has talked about many yagnas, but now he will tell us which is the best one to follow. So let's go to shloka number 4.33. श्रेयान् द्रव्य मया यज्ञ ज्ञान यज्ञ परन्तप सर्व कर्म अखिलान् पार्थ ज्ञाने परिसमाप्यते. So, O chastiser of enemies, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than mere sacrifice of material possession. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of what culminated transcendental knowledge. So here there is a comparison. Shreyan Dravya. Dravya Maya. Yajna. Dravya Maya is material possessions. Then there is one more. Jnana Yajna. Sacrifice in knowledge. So Krishna is telling two different things, comparing two different things. One is sacrificial of possessions or material things, and second one is sacrifice of knowledge. So the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than mere sacrifice of material possession. Why? All sacrifice of a culminated transcendental knowledge. So there are two describers here. Sarvam, Sarva, Akhila. Sarvam and Akhila. Sarvam means what? All. Akhila in total. All activities in total. That is what it means. Sarva, Karma, Akhila. All activities in total. Jnane parisamapyate. In the end, the highest perfection is knowledge. So all kinds of work, activities in total leads only to knowledge. Now, jnana here refers to our eternal activity and relationship with Supreme Lord. Jnana parisamapyate. Transcendental knowledge, it is the devotional service of and understanding the eternal activity, eternal relationship with Supreme Lord. So Krishna is telling that some people may sacrifice their position, some people may engage in intellectual faculty. Among them, one who engages in intellectual faculty is better. The reason is that in ultimate issue, it is the intellectual faculty which redirects our art from matter to spiritual, from Maya to Krishna. This jnana is not just impersonal jnana. Bhagavad Gita uses jnana to refer many things. So here it is referring to spiritual knowledge, which ultimately culminates in Krishna. So there is a very interesting shloka in Bhagavad Gita, shloka number 15.15. This shloka says, Sarvasya chaham iti sannyamishta. Mattana smriti jnano apohanamcha. Vedeshcha sarve ahameva vedya. Vedantakat vedavid evacha. What does this mean? Krishna is telling, I am seated in everyone's heart. And from me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Mattana, Smriti, Jnana, Smriti means remembrance, Jnana means knowledge, Apohana means forgetfulness. By all this, Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of Vedas. So the sacrifice ends in jnana. All activities in totality ends up in knowledge of Krishna or the end of Vedas. So that is what we need to understand further. Now, there is one more shloka, 15.19. Yomam evam asammudo janati purushottama sat sarvavid bhajati ma sarva bhavena bharata. Whoever knows me as Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service unto me. O son of Bharata. So what does that mean? So the knowledge results in devotional service. All activities culminate in knowledge, and all knowledge results in a more devotional service. So here we see that activities, um, knowledge, and once again activity. So there is it's actually circular. Devotional service for us is activity. Which when we read Prabhupada's books, it is knowledge. And when we read it, we see that okay, we need to offer to Krishna, we need to buy fruits for him. So we engage ourselves in activity. That activity takes us closer to Krishna. And when we get what is called as realized knowledge or vijnana. So activity and knowledge are in circular. So we need to, as we understand Krishna, we do more devotional service to him. More devotional service means better understanding of Krishna. So knowledge work, knowledge service. This is a iterative, infinite spiral where we engage continuously in service of Krishna. So one who knows Krishna is Sarvavit, knower of everything. Thus here also knowledge refers to Krishna. It is possible for Arjuna to renounce the kingdom and go to forest. This is Dravya Maya Yagna. He is giving up everything and going to forest. Better than this is Jnana Yagna. Krishna is telling, better than this is Jnana Yagna, which helps in development of intellect of a person by proper knowledge. Many people will give charity, but if it is not moving in spiritual knowledge, then at a maximum it will be sattva guna and keep the soul bound in material world. On the other hand, by understanding that I am not body, I am soul and eternal servitor of Krishna, the charity then given with this knowledge leads to purification. The charity will become the part of process of purification. So ultimately it leads to purification. Therefore Krishna is telling Arjuna to cultivate jnana. How will Arjuna cultivate jnana? Should Arjuna renounce everything and go to forest and cultivate jnana? Should Arjuna go to forest and then sit there and speculate and cultivate jnana? Or what else he should do? The deeper understanding of jnana, how to cultivate this. This is very important. And Krishna will explain this in the next verse. In this section, Krishna has talked about various principles of yajna. From 4.24 to 4.33, Krishna is only talking about different forms of yajna. So now if I say, if you see this, chapter 4, 4.24 says a person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain spiritual freedom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities in which consummation is absolute and which is offered is of same spiritual source. So here we saw about Brahmarpana, Brahmagna, Brahmanauta, Brahmeya Tena Kantavi, Brahma Karma Samadhi. Everything that we do is some way or the other originates from Krishna. So that is where it starts, sacrifice. Then Krishna is talking about different types of yajna. What are those different types of yajna? Let's go to that. So from 4.25 to 4.29, Krishna has talked about different karmas. So the first, till now, till 4.25, Krishna is talking about Nishkama Karma Yoga, do activities without attachment to fruits of the work. Then Krishna is talking about in 4.25, worship to Devatas, because we want quick results. Probably we can worship Devata and get just some, result. So that is there. And then Krishna is then talking about Jnana Yoga, which is worship of the Supreme Brahma, impersonal Brahma. So that is what is told in 4.25. And then 4.25 CD is 4.25 CD is doing Brahman worship, worship of the impersonal Brahma. Then 4.26 majorly focuses on how we control our senses by using the senses only to do activities related to Krishna. Or we go one level and then engage our senses to get something which can be engaged in service of Krishna. So the first one, where we just restrict to Krishna service, is brahmachari activity, where there is no sex indulgence, and hence they use everything in service of Krishna. The major senses they are used only in service of Krishna. Whereas grihasthas use the sense of touch to bring a life in this world and make the child Krishna conscious. That is grihastha. So that is bring remaining different indifferent actions of senses. They control the sense engagement. Here they are controlling the senses. Here they are controlling the engagement of the senses. Then 4.27 is restraining the senses by controlling the air senses by controlling the life air within the body. So that is 4.27. And then 4.28 is talking about different yoga practice of severe yogas and vows, that is austerity. Then comes the 4.29 and the ABCD and 4.29 EF. Here, the main focus, this is where we started today. So we first control the breathe and which helps just majorly from the respiratory system. This we do to control our mind. When we are able to control our mind, we are able to focus, control our bodily activities, and hence we engage in service. So if we prolong the life and we have longer time available for our purification. The fifth one is restraining eating, where we are majorly focused on the digestive system. We ensure that our digestive system is regulated and hence we are able to control the bodily activities and engage in service for engage in using the body for liberation. So everywhere the main focus is liberation. So now we talked about we talked about so after this we talked about the purpose of Vedas. So let us go to the shlokas here. So till 4.29 we talked about different types of yajnas. Now what is the purpose? What is the purpose of this? So purpose 30th, all these performers know the meaning of sacrifice. So it is for cleansing us ourselves from sinful reaction. And then we can taste the nectar of the sacrifice. And then we can elevate ourselves to Supreme Kingdom, Supreme Personality of God. So without sacrifice, there is no happiness. To live happily in this planet, we need to do sacrifice. And then even when if you have to go to, you would be happy in next planet, we need to do sacrifice. Now, where does this sacrifice come from? This comes from Vedas. And all this type of sacrifice are born of work. So knowing this itself is a big liberation. So we see that we need to get ourselves cleansed of sinful reaction and then taste the nectar of sacrifice and enter into spiritual atmosphere. If you are not getting into spiritual atmosphere, you stay in this material world. Even to stay in this material world happily, we need to be doing sacrifices. That is what here means. Now, where does all this come from? It comes from Vedas. Vedas are giving this knowledge, and then by following this, we become liberated. By just knowing that this sacrifices are from Vedas, and when we do this, we get liberated. When we know this, we get liberated. Then Krishna is emphasizing that there are different sacrifices. One is just material, um, and one is just sacrifice the material possession, and another one is sacrifice performed in knowledge. In all this both, the main thing is sacrifices performed in transcendental knowledge, because all knowledge will result in all sacrifices results in knowledge. So here we saw that we need to know who is Krishna. When we know about Krishna, we engage in service. And when we engage in service, we know much better about Krishna. So it is like a spiral which is uh, constantly improving and taking us towards Krishna and taking us back home, back to God. So these are all different types of yagna. So all these yagna are culminating into transcendental knowledge. Now Krishna will recommend to us how can we acquire this knowledge? What is the way available for us to get this knowledge? So the best way available for us to get this knowledge is to approach spiritual master. We get all this knowledge by approaching Srila Prabhupada. Um, so, by understanding that knowledge results as by understanding that sacrifice results in knowledge, and knowledge results in more activity towards Krishna, is very, very important for us in our devotional life. By understanding this, one can choose a right kind of activity. By choosing the right kind of activity, one can attain liberation. Liberation involves getting proper knowledge. If somebody does yajna ignorantly, he has yajna as possessions. But if he does that yajna with knowledge, then he is better situated than doing just yajna. Just chanting the holy name is not enough. Knowing that by engage the chanting holy name is the best kind of sacrifice that we can do for Krishna in this Kali Yuga, purifies us much better, and we can travel towards Krishna much faster. This acting in knowledge leads to further knowledge. This knowledge becomes more internalized and realized. This way, the knowledge deepens. This way, we become more advanced in the knowledge. Therefore, Krishna says, "Jnane parisamapyate." Jnane Parisamapyate. In BG, this is 4.33, Krishna says all works culminate in transcendental knowledge. Jnane Parisamapyate. Krishna will now recommend Arjuna what he should do to acquire this knowledge. This is a very interesting shloka. Let us touch the shloka, what it is. Tadvidi pranipakena pariprashnena seva upadikshyanti te jnana jnaninas tattvadarshina. So what we should do, just by try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Because they have seen the truth. So here it is very important. Why we are approaching Srila Prabhupada? He is the spiritual master, and how we should approach it. That will be explained in our next session. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Pachakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvaya tanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namaha. Granth Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.